go ahead and get started. So again, good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Ed Zunzunegui with QModo AI. I will be your moderator, and we're lucky enough to have some great panelists today. One of our panelists did have to recuse themselves, so we do have Greg Westbrook with CGL, and I'll let Greg introduce himself, and Jeff Torczyk with QModo AI also. So Greg, if you will be so kind to introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about your company and your responsibilities.
Sure. Thanks, Ed, and everybody on the phone. Appreciate the opportunity to get to chat about some of the challenges that we're really going through. So again, my name is Greg Westbrook. I'm the president of CGL Facility Management. We provide a wide variety of facility management and consulting services to the public sector, with the core of that really being providing skilled trades workforce to handle all of the maintenance-related issues for facilities. And again, that covers anything from mechanical, electrical, plumbing, HVAC systems, security electronics, lock controls, all the way to hang a whiteboard, right? I mean, when you're in the maintenance world, you really cover a wide variety of aspects for your clients. And so, my role certainly is from a strategic perspective overall in regards to making sure that we are delivering best value services to our clients, and in doing so, really providing our skilled trades technicians with the best possible support to be successful. So first and foremost, that is with finding those individuals and recruiting, onboarding, and training, but also providing the right level of resources from engineering support to human resources, to the IT platforms we utilize, accounting, payroll. All those functionalities are really critically important in regards to how you make those employees successful, make them part of the team is how we move forward. And so that's really my role with the organization overall is help bring on board some great talent and make them successful in delivering for our clients.
Thank you, Greg. Appreciate it. Jeff?
Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Jeff Twardzik. I'm the Senior Vice President and head of the SME team here at QModo. I also came up with the original idea. Graduated from Michigan Tech in civil engineering, went on to build custom homes about 11 years ago when I got into healthcare. I worked for Portage Health, was supervisor there in the maintenance department. And it was during that time that I realized the awesome number of pieces of equipment, the critical equipment, all the stuff that these guys had to keep in their heads, and they started really looking for YouTube or Alexa for maintenance guys, and it didn't exist. Went on from there to be the director of facilities for the region for Spider Systems, and that's where I retired and went on to QModo from there. But here at QModo, I'm just bringing the real life scenarios to QModo. So I think that's what's really exciting, is that it's not, I think this would be great. These are things that I know would be great and be super helpful to those people in the workforce. So, we're here supporting people like Greg and CGL and their group, and proving out QModo to the world.
Thanks, Jeff. Let me stay in that vein, Jeff, because the hospitals are really critical buildings that need to operate 24/7, and they need to be available. The title of our workshop here is around trade workforce staffing and the challenges that we're seeing. Back in your role then at the hospital, what were some of the critical challenges for yourself as a facility maintenance director there in dealing with those items?
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of things there are challenges that were out there. The amount of information and where it was stored. So we had binders, we had drives in the computer, you had thumb drives, you had all of this information all over the place. It existed. You had plans that were in piles in some room, and you tried to read through it, find valves, and on and on and on. So the information was there. But the one thing that scared me the most is that information would stay, even though it was maybe challenging to find that information. But when I had a senior tech that was there for 20 to 30 years, knew the building inside and out, he was the guy that always trained the new guys that came on. He's the guy that he always leaned on when something went wrong, because he knew he had the answers up in his head. But when he walked out the door, all that information walked out the door with him. So that was one of the biggest drivers toward QModo, when the idea came, when I would see those guys leave and I'd have that panic attack, and how do you fill that gap? There was no tool out there to gather all that information and hold it for the next guy coming into his seat. So QModo gives you the ability to do that, to add that custom content, which is just invaluable, I believe. So as I look at all the things, you can still have that information for those new techs, but the old techs, when they walked out with that information in their head, it was gone forever.
Okay, and Greg, kind of in the last couple of years, your buildings for your customers they deem it just as critical, right? In some of the areas you're dealing with, over the last couple of years, what are the demands that you've seen that have been put on your teams?
Sure, absolutely. And so just to expand on that a little, again, we provide maintenance services into primarily public sector critical environments. So we do a lot of prisons, jails, juvenile justice facilities. We do higher ed, student housing applications. We do state health facilities, really, and through a wide variety across the country. So I get a lot of exposure in regards to what's going on across not only a wide variety of applications or types of institutions, right? So again, everything from healthcare to higher ed to correctional systems to general office buildings to we even do some entertainment venues and animal control shelters. And so, but a lot of the challenges that Jeff just mentioned are constant across all of those, right? You're trying to get the level of information and the institutional knowledge, right, that sometimes your old timers had for years. And so when you have the challenges that have occurred, especially the last 2 years, so Ed, your question was in the last 2 years, COVID has put a huge pressure point on skilled labor workforce across all disciplines. And so, simply put, it was an aging workforce to begin with because fewer and fewer people grow up wanting to turn a wrench. And then, a lot of the newer employees or those aspects, it's just not as popular to go through vocational programs and develop those skilled trades. And so we really found ourselves in a shrinking workforce environment. We had a lot of senior employees that just said, I don't need to work anymore. I'm just going to go home. And then, like you said, you're struggling. So all that institutional knowledge walks out the door, and then you're having to either shift resources into a facility that they just don't know. And so, how do you do that? And then you have the more junior skilled trades technicians that you're bringing on board that are new, either new to the facility or in some cases somewhat new to the industry. And how do you get that training for them, right? And we have all your typical onboarding training, your mentoring programs, your on-the-job training kind of stuff. But we got desperate. We really needed to find a different way to embrace technology to help us, cover that gap. And so that's really how we got introduced into, the utilization of QModo as an ability to help us shore up in that delivery for our clients, help get the right information in the right technician's hands at the moment they're at the piece of equipment. That was huge for us. And so it's really been one of those scenarios that's helped us, really look at some changes in regards to how we handle and how we recruit in some of our training programs by integrating this in. I'll go a step further in the fact that I've had a lot of sites that got shut down. I mean, we had the entire maintenance crew get exposed. And so now I'm in a scenario where I'm shifting 4 or 5 technicians, a 3-hour trip away to a building. They don't even know where the bathrooms are. And so, being able to give them, access to the type of information they need, so when they get in front of those assets that they can be functional and deliver good corrective action, good response to the issue at hand. So it's all those different aspects sort of pulling over these last 2 COVID years have just been, a stretch on everybody in that regard.
Yeah, and I want to spend a little more time drilling in on this subject because I think it's very pertinent because we've heard so much on the news about Great Resignation. You've got a lot of these senior folks, you both have kind of touched on it, that have gone ahead and retired. So what other things are you looking at to do? Greg, I'll get you to talk about it first. That you kind of touched on it to fill the knowledge gap, to get that knowledge that those the 20, 30-year veterans have into anyone that's new, and what challenges that's brought to the table. But what are you seeing in the new techs coming up and the younger folks that you're hiring? Are they at a level you'd like them to be at? Because the data shown, and we've seen data that shows there's a 3 to 4x gap, might be even a little bit bigger, between the need that's out there and the candidates that are available. So if you could both touch on that a little bit, but Greg, I'll go to you first.
Sure, yeah, and so there's pros and cons. I'll say that. So certainly finding the skilled trades workforce out there that has the level of skill set that we're looking for in working with, especially a lot of our clients have older or aging buildings that don't have the latest greatest technology, and so we're looking for technicians that honestly come, some of the more junior guys just don't know how to work on that type of equipment. And so, trying to get them trained and up to speed with that aspect of it. The flip side of that coin is the fact that they are very technically savvy, right? So in other words, they do know how to use a handheld and a mobile app, and are very computer proficient, and understand how to just naturally navigate a tool such as QModo, where we can provide them those kind of tools and information. We've had to, back to your original question, and we've literally completely restructured how we recruit. We've hired a separate recruiting manager. We have engaged every aspect of what we can do to find good skilled trades folks, and everything from branding and marketing to sign-on bonuses, to mentoring programs, to pay for play as regards to certifications and licensure, and every lever we can pull to help draw in the best talent out there right now, we're having to pull it. And in an environment where in some cases we're limited by our contract in regards to what we can and can't pay individuals, or we're limited by other restraints or restrictions in particular geographic regions. So that's where we really we have to and have had to embrace bringing in more junior skilled trades technicians, and then getting them where we need to be.
I guess to build on that, I totally agree with you, Greg. The next generation, they're just born with a phone in their hand, right? So it makes sense to them, and they navigate through it easily. So that's a great thing for QModo to be part of. The other thing I will say, and you kind of touched on it, Greg, is you find yourself in a position like when I was working in the hospitals, we had to have 24/7 coverage. That wasn't an option. So when these guys were leaving, you had to find a body to make that happen. So then you're stretching out your workforce that's there. You got a day guy now working a midnight shift because you just don't have an option, and things are spiraling downward. So I think QModo gives you the ability to take in a hardworking kid that's right out of high school, maybe doesn't know a whole lot about them, and empower them and make them feel confident in their job. So when they're coming in, you can ensure them that you're not going to be just left out there. You're going to be able to do a good job. You're going to feel good about what you're doing at work. And I think when you're creating a good team, a good facilities team like you've done, Greg, it's a lot about having a confident employee, empower them with the right information, and so they can do their job right. And I think that's the difference in everything we're doing.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks both. So let's go down that theme of the operations. You're bringing in folks that are more junior. Maybe they're not quite at the level you need them to be, and as Greg, you mentioned, you've got a slew of different programs to get them up to speed, right? Whether it's mentoring, whether it's assigning. But if you do have that situation where you've got the third shift junior person and he's got an emergency or a situation he's trying to handle, I assume in a lot of cases he's calling that first shift guy or the senior guy for help. Talk a little bit about the operations then of how do you deal with that, and how do you try to manage that when your staff isn't quite where you need it to be? If you don't mind, Jeff, if you want to go first and talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I'll jokingly but somewhat seriously say that a lot of this came out of the fact that I didn't want the 2 a.m. phone calls anymore that I got, because I was the only guy that knew how to do something. Which, Greg, I'm sure you have, and your directors definitely have. But onboarding somebody right now, it was weeks, if not months, of with that kid with his finger in the bell loop of an older guy, and you kind of figured it out that way. QModo gives you that ability to, that night shift guy that you're talking about, Ed, when it really hits the fan, yeah, you've got other people coming in there. But for those how to reset a pump, or simple tasks like that, or have an error code on a piece of equipment and they can quickly look that up. Again, you're just empowering those young people. They can go up and have a chance at figuring out the problem before they have to make that phone call. So I just feel like that's just such a huge piece of work.
Yeah, it seems like so many of your folks, I mean, they're problem solvers. They're trying to think through what's the issue, what's the right way to do it. And right now, when they come in and they're that fresh, it's really leaning on the older folks. Greg, do you want to expand on that?
Yeah, well, and again, this is where I mentioned earlier, we had to find something to help us get there, because mine, I mean, we talk about the coverage and those aspects of it. My two biggest things in the middle of the night is safety and emergency response. And so, the great features that we've, and again, we've been very collaborative in how we've engaged with these aspects of this platform to help me make my team safer, which inherently makes my client's environment safer. And so by integrating all of the safety related protocols and steps that have to be taken as it relates to response to whatever the issues happen at night has been a big plus for me. It helps me sleep a little better at night, I can tell you that, in regards to knowing, I know every time they go to a piece of equipment or an asset or go to respond to an ill, it's going to pop up and say, look, you have to make, take your time, do your job hazard assessment. Here's the key things you need to be looking for as it relates to this asset, right? So that helps me out of the gate. And then emergency response is one of those key areas where even sometimes the old timers don't remember where every valve is, every utility cutoff, every system that could potentially damage if left, with no triage occurring, and mitigating the immediate response. And so, the example we use all the time, because it happens all the time, is getting a sprinkler head popped in a cell or in a dorm room, or that aspect of it, which seems to happen. It's like a pastime for some of our clients in these facilities. Well, the amount of water damage that can occur very quickly if you don't know where that shutoff is. And so by integrating these utility cutoffs in this system, again, even those junior individuals that might be at a site, and I'll be honest, again, I've even had scenarios where very senior individuals, but you put them in a 1 million square foot facility, for them to remember every single valve, and one that maybe never got used in the last 6-7 years. So it's just been a great ability to enhance, simply put, the safety and emergency response of our team, whether they're junior technicians or just exposed to a situation that hadn't occurred in a while.
Yeah, I would even build on that a little bit more, Greg, and I'm glad you brought up the safety piece of that. So, number one, keeping those guys safe, but especially in a hospital setting, it's keeping the staff and patients safe, right? So, even though I know where the valve's at, I've got a water leak happening, it's critical that you know what else you're shutting off when you turn that valve off. So maybe it's going to the dialysis machines, or maybe it's going someplace up in the OR or something along those lines, or even if you're dealing with air handling and we're talking about an OR, you can't just shut stuff down because there's some bad things that can happen on the other side of that. So the coverage areas and the safety that QModo offers is really big for those younger techs, because even though they might, like I said, think they're doing the right thing. I had a real life incident happen in the last hospital I was in, and it was a water pipe that burst. The guy thought he was doing the right thing and shut the water pipe off and went through the process of fixing that. But during that time, that was the water that supplied the chiller for the server room. So now you got $2 million worth of servers that are jeopardized because you're fixing a 1/2-inch water pipe someplace, half a mile away. It's because sometimes you're in some of these bigger buildings, right? I can't believe I'm affecting that, but I am. So the coverage area and safety, I just feel is great for those younger guys, or the older ones. Like, again, the original idea came from, it's just, you cannot keep that much information in your head. It just doesn't work. It's unpracticed things. The last time I touched a valve was 2 years ago, and that happens a lot. Even though I've been in the building for 20, 30 years, I just can't remember everything. QModo gives you a starting point.
Yeah, so let's jump into technology, because Greg, you mentioned it, and a couple times now we've obviously talked about QModo, and technology seems to be the levels the playing field, right? Where somebody's got that data, they're never going to be that 30-year person, but they can start to move towards that. But Greg, what mix with your teams do you see that technology plays into these situations? What's the right balance that you view?
Yeah, so Well, again, when you're looking at from the perspective, and we've covered a lot of the topics from a knowledge perspective, I think the other key aspect, when you're bringing in either shifting staff from site to site or bringing in new staff, is understanding the policies and procedures. And then ultimately what you're trying to do is you're trying to drive the productivity level as high as possible with your workforce, right? And so, being able to appropriately, I mean, it really boils down to workflow management, right? And then providing the right resources. And so, we always talk to our managers and our administrative support at the sites about, your primary functionality, first and foremost, certainly is safety, but then after that, it's make our skilled trades workforce as productive as they can be, right? Make sure that if you're sending them out to do a work activity, they have the right tools, the right process, the space is available for them to use, the parts and materials are on hand. It's all those factors so that you don't end up with a lot of non-productive time of the challenge we've already talked about of having, reduced amount of skilled trades workforce there. And so again, the platform gives you that opportunity to really organize and coordinate your labor pool, right? Prioritize correctly, make sure you're scheduling and planning correctly. And so, really all those utilizations of the platform along with the access to the easy information, right? So again, you finally got them there. You got them there with the right tool. You got them there with the materials. You got, the space available. And then them being able to, make sure they can respond effectively. Like we integrate a lot of training in this. So a lot of the training, it's made it just a great platform to deliver training on an ad hoc basis, right? It used to always be, we had everybody has to some extent a training platform that they utilize to deliver, everything from your safety OSHA standard stuff to, your basics to, how to align a pump, how to clean a coil, and all those different things. And so, but that always had to be, sort of scheduled, and then you put, found time to put the technician in front of a computer, and you sat them there for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and that aspect of it. Well, now it's on demand right there when they need it, right? And so it's just added a whole new avenue to us to get that training and that enhanced productivity out of our team. So it's just been really great in that regard.
Yeah, no, thank you. And training always has a connotation, and I think you use the best. You're going to sit in front of a computer for an hour and watch the video or watch the presentation on how to do something. And I think the on-demand piece, and we're all used to that today, right? We don't want to wait for a regularly scheduled show. We want to watch that show when we're ready to watch it, when we need to watch it. And again, I think a lot of young folks expect that with technology.
Well, if I could just jump into that, it gives you immediate application, right? Instead of sitting at a computer and maybe it's 3 weeks, 4 weeks, a month before they ever engage that, you're literally right there. You get to watch the video, then you get to do, right? Which is the best way to learn, right? And so it's just been really helpful for us getting our skilled trades folks where we need them to be.
Yeah, I was just going to say the same thing, Greg, is that truly learning is doing, right? It's not watching the video and then trying to bring that back into the space. When you're actually got your hands in it and you're doing it and you have a tool there to help you and assist you along, chances are you're never going to forget that. I used to always encourage our guys, just do the best job you can, and if you screw it up, then I guarantee you're not going to do it again, And so hopefully QModo won't let that screw up happen on that first run, fewer of those, but I can't agree with you more that the training piece of it is done so much better right there real time.
And Jeff, along those lines, can you expand a little bit more on any other benefits you would have seen, back in your role when you were at the hospital, if you had QModo and your team had QModo? That's the key thing, right? A lot of technology is meant for management. You're scheduling that person. You want to make sure, Greg, as manager, you want to make sure that Joe's going to that piece of equipment to do the repair on this date or do the preventive maintenance on this date. But it's when Joe gets there. And Jeff, when your guys get there, what other benefits do you see in a tool like QModo? Because now you've got that on-demand information.
Well, I mean, we've been touching on it the whole time. I mean, I think that the biggest benefit is the younger guys that aren't quite as seasoned. They can go in and start doing the job and be proficient with that job and feel good about what they're doing and have a good outcome on that. the older guys that are there, I mean, sometimes it's a little bit harder to get them to use the new technologies, but I don't think it takes long. And Ed, I think you hit it right on that. Everything that we've seen up to this point for technologies is really management based. I know where Jeff is, I know when he did it, and all of those who, what, when, and where's. And there's never been anything that's come out to really be strictly for the technicians. And I think that's really where we're unique and special in what we're doing here, is we're building this technology for the technicians to do a better job, which ultimately is fewer FTEs and better productivity and better job and better performance. And then for the owner, in your case, Greg, they're more pleased because their building's being taken care of better.
Yeah, and I'll even pick up on, I mean, at our core, right, and this company was founded on providing great value to the public sector in areas where they lack the subject matter expertise or the resources to accomplish it. And I'm certainly proud to be part of this organization in that cause. And so when you're, from a facilities management perspective, we talk about all these different aspects, but ultimately we're there to provide a lower total cost of ownership for our clients, right? By pulling all these levers we've talked about and improving productivity and safety, quality of response, accuracy of response. Ultimately you're driving down the total cost for our clients, both in, downtime, impact to operations, energy costs, all these different avenues where you're really making a difference in really the total cost and impact of what that aspect for these institutions really has to get. I mean, that's why the skilled trades staff are there, right? I mean, that's really what you're trying to drive is providing the best. And again, my clients are all owner-occupied buildings, and so it really plays well into the features of this platform and the fact that it is all about trying to support the mission, right? And just like Jeff was saying about the hospitals, you're there to support their mission and make sure that you don't that the infrastructure of the facility doesn't inhibit them from doing what they're there to accomplish.
I think the other thing I would add on this that we haven't talked about is compliance piece. So, in a hospital setting with the Joint Commission or OSHA or CMS or whoever it was that was coming in to make sure they were doing it right. So we now not only are getting those guys in front of that equipment, but we're getting them to do the right forms, the right tasks, filling out the right spaces. So that stuff is done according to whoever that is. That's that third party that's coming in to survey you. So, even MSDS sheets, which are in all buildings, so those are in a binder someplace in somebody's desk. And, so God forbid when something does go in your eyes or you ingest something, you could simply ask for it and have it right at your fingertips. So you're checking a lot of boxes on the compliance piece too.
And Ed, if I can jump into it, because Jeff just made a comment that really reminded me of a feature and a benefit that our clients is really seeing that we really haven't touched on yet is ultimately we're there to give them good management level information so they can make decisions, right? We utilize it too to make decisions with our staff in that aspect, but it's really QModo and the platform and the ability to have the handhelds deployed has improved our data acquisition, has improved the quality of if you don't document it, it didn't happen, right? And so when you're talking about critical things such as equipment history and energy conservation and all these other aspects that you're trying to warranty management and all these other things, being able to document that and then track it and show the results has been a great enhancement through this process.
Yeah, if you're talking about manufacturer's recommendation on a piece of equipment, right? It's if you're not following that and all of a sudden this piece of equipment fails and they come in and, well, your warranty is void because you didn't follow what was manufacturer's recommendation on that, we're ensuring that information is in front of our techs.
Okay. Well, we do have one question from an audience member here, an attendee, but are there any other approaches or solutions or anything that we haven't explored to discuss? I want to give you both a chance to at least mention those.
Yeah, I would say that one of the things that we need to discuss and what makes this great is that it's not just we hand it over and there it is, and that's the end of it. I've always said it's a living, breathing piece of technology. So as new assets come into the building, as new technology comes into the building, as new ideas come into the building, right now I have a better way of doing whatever that might be. You add it to QModo and it just keeps getting better and better and better with every day that passes and as that information goes in. The other thing I would add to that is that we obsessed over the fact that making it easy to add and easy to retrieve. So adding that information right now is a little clunky on most technologies out there right now. You know, you've got a spreadsheet, and you've got pictures, and you're trying to put all this together and then add it in there. QModo is real simple in how you add an asset. So I would just say that, you know, it just gets better and better and better, which is really big.
Yeah, I'll go in, and this might be a little different route, and if it's way off topic, I apologize in advance, but it is something that from an overall comfort, you know, again, part of my job, and I mentioned a lot of the aspects of it, but, you know, the strategic direction of the company and representing the great value we can provide clients, and finding a way to represent that and get buy-in or get excitement from a potential client, right? And so we found that now that we've embraced it, understand it well enough to understand the impact it has for our clients, it sells really well, right? I mean, it is, when you're putting it in front of a client, it's something they can see and feel and touch that hey, look, CGL embraces technology. They're doing great things in supporting the skilled workforce that's going to be supporting my facility. And so it really has given us a new avenue from a business development perspective to look at, you know, how we do that. And again, from our standpoint, we've thought so much about it and the success we've had. Again, we've white labeled our version for CGL Mobile Mind as how we take this for our clients and move forward. And again, it's something that our clients can get excited about and that our technicians have embraced. And so it's one of those added benefits, I guess you'd say, in regards to the platform.
Okay, great. Thanks you both. So the question kind of it's a bit broad, but I think it'll let you. What would be your vision for FM teams, for a successful FM team looking into the future?
Ooh,
I'll open it up to either one of you.
That is broad. So and I'll take a stab at it first, Jeff, and then certainly you can get at that aspect. It's an ever-changing work environment, and that's sort of why we wanted to have this discussion today. It was changing even before COVID, but now with the change in the simply put, the human resources that are out there and available, the expectations of employees now with employers of how they're engaged, how they're trained, how they're treated, employee retention, and all those aspects of it. It's one of those scenarios where we've had to adjust, our approach, right? How we recruit, how we get somebody. It used to be, hey, you post X dollars per hour, and the resumes start rolling in, and then you just pick the one you want, and you train them and you move on. Now it is truly to get the right FM team, to get the right mix of skill sets, and an individual that is a good quality person, right? Somebody who will buy into the mission, self-motivated, will show up every day. Those type individuals are, as we know, harder to find, and so you want to engage them in a way where you're bringing them into your culture, right? You're literally demonstrating as a company what your core values are, what you're trying to deliver, and then showing how you're going to support them, right, as an employee. And so we talked about a lot of the other aspects of it, but this platform really gives you that ability to do that with the changing FM workforce.
Yeah, and I think the thing I would add to that is that, I don't have the crystal ball and where exactly this is going, but I can see some of it. Is that the look of that FM team is just going to be different. So if I was going to take an example of some of the hospitals that I worked at and the satellite clinics that were outside of it, there was nobody assigned that stayed at those clinics all the time. That was always, if something happened, you went out to that clinic. And that, I live in a rural area in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and those clinics are spread out the week's watch. Those aren't like around the corner things. I can see where our teams with QModo gives you the ability for a lot of the smaller solutions that you need, like resetting a pump or resetting a fire alarm or doing other things like that. Somebody right in the building could do it. They're not officially part of your FM team, but they sure could support you. The same that you're supporting people the other way. So maybe that's somewhere where we're heading, is other people are going to be able to take care of some of those pieces anyway for the FM teams to make it possible to maybe not have as many people or maybe not as skilled people, but you have the ability with QModo and that tool for other people to take care of the smaller things.
Okay. All right. Well, I want to say thank you very much both to both our panelists, Jeff and Greg. We appreciate your time and your insight and what you've shared with us. And a thank you to all the attendees for coming on and listening. And if you do want to learn more about QModo, you can go to our website, QModoAI.com, and check it out and reach out to us if you want to learn more. But thank you, everyone. We appreciate your time, and we hope you have a safe and nice rest of your day.